Hello, amazing souls. Do you ever find yourself doubting that gut feeling and second guessing your every choice? Or maybe feeling disconnected from your spirit guides? If you're nodding along, you've landed in the right place. Welcome to the Soul Vibe Insights Podcast. I'm Maddie Hollingsworth.
And I'm Emily Pearl. We're all about demystifying soul energy, emotional awareness, developing your intuition, and the Akashic Records. We're here to make these powerful tools accessible on your journey of self discovery.
So pull up a chair, relax your vibe, and let's jump right into today's show. Hello, amazing souls, and welcome to today's show. Emily and I are excited to be here with you once again. We spent a lot of time talking about the Akashic Records and our soul journey Akashic readings that we do for our clients. One of the things that we've mentioned over many of the podcasts is soul group of origin. Where does one soul originate? Where does your soul call home? And we really wanted to dive into a soul group that doesn't always get the amount of love that starseed and star traveler souls receive. If you do a quick Google search, you're going to find a lot more information about starseed souls coming from around the universe to incarnate here on planet Earth. And you'll find a lot less information about Earth souls, souls that actually make up 75% of the souls here on the planet right now. So we wanted to spend time on this show talking about Earth souls and sharing the information that we have with you.
Hello, welcome to today's show. We're so excited to be talking about Earth souls today. Like Maddie said, they make up 75% of the souls incarnated on planet Earth, maybe a little bit more than 75%. So they are definitely the majority of souls here on planet Earth, which makes sense. Chances are, if you're listening to this podcast, you are probably not an Earth soul, mainly for reasons that we will get into. But most of the time, if you're an Earth soul, you are very much connected to Earth and its going-ons.
Very much so. You're down to earth. You're probably a rather grounded soul with the physicality here.
So let's begin by talking about what is an Earth soul.
The quickest, easiest way to describe an Earth soul is they have experienced their soul's very first incarnation here on planet Earth. And so they consider Earth their home planet. This is where their formative lifetimes have developed. Just like a starseed soul might have their first 5 to 15 or 20 lifetimes in a different star system or planet before they would go anywhere else to experience. So their formative incarnations happened elsewhere. That happened here for an Earth soul. So they consider Earth their home. This is their place.
Yeah, and so because of that, many Earth souls only incarnate on Earth for all of their subsequent lifetimes. However, we have run into this idea of being a traveler soul, and so this is one of the in-between lifetime trainings that we look into in our Akashic record work. And so sometimes Earth souls in between their lifetimes will travel to other star systems and planets. And they will, kind of get a feel for what these other planets are like and grow in between their lifetimes in these other planets as well by, expanding their breadth of knowledge as far as how the universe really is and how the universe works.
Yeah, and then when they come back and have another lifetime on Earth, they're bringing this experience innately in their vibration of their soul's energy as well. Also, each soul group of origin has a council of elders souls too. And these souls often experience other planets having lifetimes or incarnations there as kind of part of their mission, as part of their diplomatic ways, if you will, to, fully understand others is to put your life in their shoes, is to walk a lifetime or many lifetimes there as well. So there are reasons that most Earth souls only incarnate here, but not every Earth soul only incarnates on Earth and never experiences anything outside of Earth.
But the majority do.
Yeah, the vast majority do.
Yeah, it's much more rare for an Earth soul to have these experiences on other planets. which is kind of what makes soul travelers or starseeds so unique. But in this podcast, we are going to kind of outline all of these different characteristics of Earth souls so that, you can kind of get an understanding of the foundation that Earth is built upon and kind of like what the main mind frame for it really is. So the first characteristic, like we've already said, is that an Earth soul incarnates on Earth for the first time. So another characteristic is that they have a little bit more simplified reason for incarnating, and that is they just want to experience what a physical body is like. They want to experience what it is like to be in a physical body, but also have this psychological, this emotional, and spiritual aspects and the physical aspects while being in this body. And so we all know, what a clusterfuck that can be.
Yeah, last week we dived deep into the notion of Earth being a school for our universe, for all souls to come here and to learn, because there's nowhere else in the universe that we know of that has all of these attributes in one incarnation. So this is what is normal for Earth souls. Life in a physical body, dealing with the psychological, emotional, physical, and spiritual aspects of life, all while in a body. Like Emily said, it can be a clusterfuck. It can be beautiful, but this is like the norm for an Earth soul, where other souls are coming from around the universe for the chance to have this kind of experience. And so the same density here on Earth that a star traveler soul finds difficult to navigate is right at home for an Earth soul. This whole 3D density that gets talked about. This is like the norm for an Earth soul. This is their jam. This is what they do every lifetime, pretty much.
Yeah, and so another characteristic of Earth souls is they tend to really value this idea of tribe or family and relationships, and having these types of relationships with others is very important to them. So basically, you won't find too many like loner type Earth souls because they find this idea of tribe and family and relationships. Now, this isn't to say that starseeds won't find this important either, and like they won't ever have friends, but there's just kind of a different mentality to it. And Earth souls may tend to be more likely to stay near their families instead of like moving across the country or across the world away from their families. It'll be very important to stay close and have that really close-knit relationship with them or with their tribe, whoever that may be.
Yeah, not just close, but close proximity as well, like Emily was saying. They're not going to spread their wings too often and go settle in other places. They're going to want to be close to the family and near to their family and friends that they grew up with. That's what feels good. That's what grounds them. That's part of their experience. Another aspect about Earth souls is they tend to be rather engaged with the practical and physical aspects of life here, and they're rather drawn to having a family of their own. I don't know if this comes across in their consciousness or not. I kind of doubt it, but I think there's this even more intense biological urge than starseed or star traveler souls will feel to have a family of their own, to continue, like literally provide an opportunity to continue the ability for other Earth souls to incarnate here through having a family of their own, through creating their own progeny and creating more generations down the line. They're ensuring that Earth souls always have bodies to come back into. I also find that like any soul could enjoy things like sports, but I feel like Earth souls are probably more engaged in something like this, operating within the physicality, the practical abilities of what they physically can do, and like continuing on and pushing really hard for this. I definitely played sports myself as a starseed soul and enjoyed my soccer and stuff, but I don't know, I just have a sense that there's something about doing, the physicalness and the practicality of playing sports that I think an Earth soul would find rather appealing.
Yeah, and I almost even think it's more than that. I think it's also being a part of that group. Like, not only possibly using the physical aspects of your body to play that sport, but it's also you're a part of something because you play that sport. So it may be even more like of this intrinsic drive to be a part of a group than it necessarily is to, you know, use your body in a physical way.
Yeah, their sports tribe. I didn't even think about it in that way. Cool.
Yeah, well, I mean, I think the my team is better than your team, and I don't care anything about your team. I don't even know anything about you. I'm gonna talk shit about you anyway because you're on that team and you're my enemy, which is a bit ridiculous, but
But very rooted in relationship and tribe and defense of the tribe and, having to uphold that. That whole like family thing, like blood's thicker than water kind of sayings and stuff like that. Like family's the most important. Yeah,
and I mean,
absolutely.
I was a cheerleader, so I definitely know what it's like to talk shit about the opposing team, but looking back now that I'm a little bit older, I see kind of like how detrimental that can be to just simply judge someone because they root for a different team. And sometimes it just gets so violent, which is just, kind of sad. But I digress.
So another cool aspect about Earth Souls, and one I am so very thankful for, is Earth Souls are often tied to the production and the selling and the preparing of food. They're quite often the ones farming the land. They're at the first contact of what all of us need, Star Traveler and Earth Soul alike, to survive, is we need food. And Earth Souls are very attached to working the land and being in this chain of events that leads to the sustenance of other souls. And I am so very thankful for that. You'll also find Earth Souls, they'll be in other aspects of resources to survive, tend to be kind of in their niche as well. Think of like home building materials and construction of like living environments. These are very deeply rooted in survival and what we need to, continue as a species, as a human species.
Yeah, and this next one is kind of interesting is that Earth souls tend to be drawn more towards developing countries. And, you may at first think, wait a minute, what? But if you think about it this way, like the idea of, I mean, if you're just here to kind of understand what it's like to live in a body, then you're not really trying to figure out what it means to be happy, too. You're kind of more in the survival mode. So if you're in a developing country where resources and basics for survival, are more needed to be obtained more regularly or daily, that's kind of all you think about on a day-to-day basis. You're not really trying to think about, "Oh, I'm in survival mode, but what will it take for me to be happy as well?" Like that's not really something that you think about outside of survival mode. When you're in survival mode, that's all you think about. And I mean, I think we all kind of know what that's like, but we probably don't know what it's like for that to be our constant daily operation. And survival is a really important aspect of Earth Soul's growth. So, especially, when they're a younger or baby soul, we all go through this period of time when we're really, really young souls incarnating where it is all about survival. That's all we think about. But that's kind of a whole other podcast for another time about the process that a soul goes through as they age and get more mature as a soul and what that means. But just as far as an earth soul goes, they're definitely more drawn to this kind of survival thought, like the food, the gathering, the hunting and kind of gathering lifestyle, the need for survival, like more simplistic way of living.
Yeah, more so than what's the newest, latest gadget tech trend that I can get my hands on. They're definitely more interested in basic resources, survival? Do I have the needs to live another day, to continue? Is my family, my tribe taken care of? My community? This is going to be very driven within them at a soul level. And because of this, not every Earth soul chooses a developing country over like a first world country per se. But we found that, and, talking with our mentor and stuff, that this is something that just a higher proportion of them will be in more developing countries, that this is a drive for their soul to be there to help others around them develop and, to gather what they need. Earth souls also tend to be very interested in knowing all they can about the earth, about how Mother Gaia does what she does. You'll often find Earth souls in scientific fields like meteorology, geology, geography, herbology, and like arborism, to name a few or to name five. So you'll find that, this is their home planet, and they're not that starseeds or star traveler souls aren't going to be interested in these things, because they definitely will be too, but just as a higher concentration statistically, Earth souls are going to be leading the way to know how Earth works, to know the ins and outs of that, to, not just have that physical connection and that groundedness and that down to earth like feeling in their soul and body, but also to use their mind to understand Earth.
So this next one is probably the biggest reason why, if you are listening to this podcast right now, you are probably not an Earth soul. And that is because Earth souls usually have less interest in spiritual matters and exploring their own connection to divinity, source, and spirit. This is a lot of religions. Earth souls will usually just kind of go along with whatever their family believes or whatever their friends may believe, and it's not really something that they choose for themselves. It's more of a way to connect with others. Where starseed souls, they'll probably be more likely to choose a spiritual path just based on their own connection with divinity.
I definitely think that like a starseed soul might be more inclined to start off in a, like their spiritual path to be the religion that their family's involved in, and at some point decide that this is their own belief and conviction as well, or maybe not, and then leave and go chase their own path for spiritual connection in the way that feels best to them. This next point about Earth souls is that they tend to be more the doers of society and engaging with life in the external physical world as a means to living fully. Now, that doesn't mean that all of this doing is constructing society. Sometimes it's just the doing to be busy, to be physically busy and active all the time, and so constantly doing. And this can lead to that, like, busyness equals importance. Even though they may or may not really be doing anything important to further or to shape society, but it is kind of that, like, hustle culture. Also, this busyness and doing will predominantly take precedence over an Earth soul's life, rather than spending their time philosophizing and searching for the meaning of life, which is kind of another reason that brings back to the fact that if you're listening to this podcast, there's a good chance you're not an Earth soul, just because a lot of what we get into is the metaphysical realm, the spiritual realm, the path less followed, things that most Earth souls aren't going to engage in. And that's not to say that there aren't Earth souls out there interested in this, because they definitely can. But just statistically speaking, there's less of a chance of an Earth soul really digging in and trying to figure out the meaning of life and how do they fit in than, say, a starseed or star traveler wanting to do the same.
Well, and I think that kind of goes back to, the whole aspect of religion. If you're just kind of following along with the beliefs of what your family or your friends have to say, then you don't really question things any more than that. So you don't spend your time questioning and wondering what is this all about, because you're like, oh, well, my religion tells me what this is all about, and I'm good. I just take it at face value, and that's good for me. And so, It probably wouldn't be too bad to not spend my time wondering what everything is all about at all times. It probably would save me a lot of time. But it is definitely the way that I'm wired, so I just have to accept that as part of me for sure.
So this next point about Earth souls is that they tend to be deeply invested with this planet we call Earth. All the beauty and the hardships, because it is their home planet. Somewhere in there is that like knowing in the soul, whether that makes it through to the human that they are or not, they're invested in what's going on here. And because of that, a lot of Earth souls, they tend to mostly be nature lovers and enjoy time outdoors as far as a percentage of them goes, or statistically speaking. Of course, there are outliers everywhere. There's never one thing for any group of people that holds true across the board, other than if you're here, you're living a human life right now, maybe. But just that in general, Earth souls are going to be nature lovers and enjoy their time outside and marveling at Mother Nature and having their feet on the ground and exploring.
Well, and I'd like to kind of dig in deeper to, being deeply invested with the hardships too, because if they're not thinking outside of the why or wondering how things could be different, they just accept things at face value, then a lot of things are being perpetuated because of that. And I mean, all the things that we keep seeing, how history keeps repeating itself. If you're not thinking about the reason why these things keep happening and you're just kind of doing and kind of following along, then yeah, history's going to keep repeating itself because it's just being perpetuated by people, living in robot mode and not thinking outside of the box or thinking for themselves, just kind of going along with the flow.
Which is an awesome segue to our last point about Earth souls. And we've talked extensively over many different podcasts about how every soul comes here for growth and learning potentials, and that we all choose life lessons, things that we aren't as strong in as far as a soul goes. And we want to work, part of our life is to attract experience that allows us to grow in these things. And these are specific life lessons, but soul groups of origin, and Earth souls being one, they all tend to have a kind of a soul group's learning that's happening. And the big one for Earth souls and for the entire group is to work on developing awareness. And this is becoming more aware of themselves, their thoughts, their internal dialogue, how they feel about things, what their beliefs are, what their needs are, their desires, their values and motivations, developing awareness around this, of self-awareness. We spent a couple of podcasts talking about the importance of self-awareness, of doing something that an Earth soul's not inclined to do, which is search within, philosophize about the meaning of life, not exactly, but diving into what things mean to themselves. That this is part of the whole group of Earth souls' experience, and why they're here is to figure out what makes them tick.
I mean, honestly, I think that's kind of part of what starseeds are doing here too, is we're all just trying to develop awareness. But with starseeds, it's a little bit different because they have a little bit more of a higher perspective in a way, because they've experienced what it can be not like this, like outside of planet Earth. So they kind of have a little bit more to compare it to, even though they may not be aware of that comparison.
Oh yeah, good old spiritual amnesia.
Mm.
That's a really good point, though, hun. I also think that Earth souls are here, like working on, and this is an important one for what Emily was talking about just a moment ago. Like they're working on awareness around how their actions affect other people, especially other people's feelings. And if we're not aware of how our actions affect others, then we can be more prone to repeating history. If we're just taking things at face value and just doing them because that's what everyone's doing and moving along and not questioning our internal world or becoming aware of what our actions affect our environment and the people around us and what's going on. So this one's huge for Earth souls. It's not just becoming self-aware, but becoming self-aware of how they affect others and potentially maybe what they might want to do different going forward. And lastly, they're developing awareness around how their actions affect not just others, but everything, like the environment as a whole, like planetary wide, what they're doing, what does this mean for others and other generations, and what could I do differently? If they're starting to realize that they have this effect, then they might start making other choices. They might start becoming more environmentally friendly, caring about their actions, not just their connection to Earth, but like how that connection affects future generations as well. So this developing awareness is huge for Earth souls.
So I hope you enjoyed listening to what we have learned about Earth souls in the Akashic Records. We have had the pleasure of reading for a couple of Earth souls now with our Akashic Record readings, and it has been very interesting because I know our mentor has mentioned that she had never read for any Earth souls, so it was kind of cool to be able to compare that information with the information of the readings of all the other starseed souls that we have read for. And, we all have our place here on Earth. And if we can all really work together and bring this awareness to how we are affecting the planet and affecting everyone else around us, then maybe we can work together to make the world a better place so that we're not continually repeating things and perpetuating these terrible things that happen over and over again and just accepting them to be what's normal because that's how it's always been. So just because it's always been a certain way does not make it okay and does not make it the best way moving forward and in everyone's best interest, I guess is what I'm trying to say.
It's just a way, but it doesn't have to be the way that we move forward. Sometimes we, Earth soul or starseed soul, we can choose a different way forward, but it's that awareness that we need to develop to even know if we want to choose a different way forward. So thank you, Earth souls out there that are working on awareness. Thank you, anybody that's working on awareness.
Yeah, for sure. And, I'm not saying that any one of us knows the best way forward, but if we can all work together and find a way forward where everyone's best interests are met, then, I could see the world being a much kinder and gentler place.
That's just beautiful, honey. I would love to be experiencing more and more and more of that in my world, in my interactions, and seeing it on a planetary wide scale, a kinder, gentler, more compassionate place. And on that, I think we'll leave you today. We hope you have a wonderful week, and we'll catch you next Wednesday.
Yeah, thanks so much for tuning in.
Hey, soul friends. Thanks for listening to today's show. If you've been resonating with our podcast, Emily and I would be honored if you would share this episode with a friend. Or even better, share this episode on your socials and tag us at Soul Vibe Insights so we can connect with more amazing, like-minded souls just like yourself. Have a great day.